So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but on all of these, oh, first of all, shout out to Liz. Shout out to Liz.
Shout out to Liz.
So I don't know if you guys have. Let's recap. What have we been doing on almost all these problems? What is like the stuff we've been doing? So if you tell me, what are some of the things we've been doing? Yes.
Like, actually, this one.
You just raise your hand. That's okay. What's the first thing that we've been doing on most of these? Oh, now you guys want to be quiet?
Yep. What?
All right.
Oh, you want to find the slope?
We need to find the slope. So what we do is we find the slope. How do we find the slope? Yes.
Y sub 2 minus y sub 1.
Yeah. So we're going to use 2 points, and we find the slope. And then after we find the slope, what's the other thing we need for what I like to call the slope intercept form? Yeah, we need to find the y-intercept, right? So how do we find the y-intercept? Guys, there's a lot of talking. I asked all of you to please be quiet and pay attention, even if you're done with the work. So we need to find out what b is. Now, sometimes they give that to us, and how do we know what that is? What's the x value for the y-intercept? What's the x comma y? What's the x value for the y-intercept? Remember, y-intercept means it crosses the y-axis, so the y-intercept always has an x value of 0. Okay? On a graph, the y-intercept crosses the y-axis. And anywhere on the y-axis, no matter where the line crosses, wherever it is, x will always equal 0. That's what puts it on the y-axis. And then what do we do once we know m and b? We plug in the values m and b into, what's the equation? Y equals mx plus b. So now on problem number 6 from your guys' homework, they don't give us the points, but they give us a graph. But I noticed that this point here crosses on the grid. Do you know what I mean when I say crosses on the grid? It crosses where the x lines and the y lines cross, right? It's in the crosshairs. This one also crosses on the grid. Well, what is this point? Remember that these are always, and I should review this with you guys. To figure out what this point is, I look down here on the x-axis. The x value is 30. Over here, the y value is 100. So that point is 30, comma, 100. This one, the x value is 40, and the y value is 70, so this is 40, comma, 70. Now, when I was asking you how we solve these, I heard a lot of y sub 2 minus y sub 1. That's true. So let's call this x sub 1, comma, y sub 1. Let's call this one x sub 2, y sub 2. And then let's plug it into the formula. M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. What's y sub 2? What's y sub 2? Look at the board.
Maybe 3.
What's y sub 2?
70.
70. What is y sub 1?
100.
Yep, it's 100. Alright, what's x sub 2?
40.
40. Minus y, or x sub 1. What's x sub 1? 30. So now I can figure out what this is on the calculator in all one scoop. I'm going to take the numerator and put it in parentheses. In other words, I'm going to say 70 minus 100, close the parentheses, open parentheses, all over 40 minus 30. Okay, enter in my calculator. Well, bam, with the bacon sizzle, what's my slope? My slope is -3. So that's my slope. I'm halfway done, right? I have my slope. What's the next thing I need to find? So we're done with part 1. We found the slope. What do we do for part 2? Yeah, we got to find B. Do I know what B is? No, I got to plug it in. So to find B, this is a little tricky. I start with y equals mx plus b, but I know what m is, so I'm going to say y equals m. What's m? -3 plus b. Now, there's no way I can solve for b because I have an x in the way and a y in the way. If I had a number that I could plug in for x and y, wouldn't that make it all numbers in the variable b? Yes. So, what x and y can I plug in? Well, let's plug in 30 for x and 100 for y, because those are out in the line. So, when x is equal to 30, y is equal to 100. What's 3 times, or -3 times 30? -90 plus b, and then I got 100 over here. To get b by itself, I have to move away the -90. How do I get rid of -90? Add 90. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do to the other. This becomes positive 190 is equal to b. So now I know what b is. So the last step is I've got to plug in. So let's check that off the list. I know that b is 190. I'm running out of space there. So now I rewrite the equation y equals m, which is -3, times x, plus b, which is 190. And that is it, my friends. Any questions on that?